When it comes to stories, I tend to talk about the villains and my love of the same ones, but even then, I still value the heroes even more because of what they go through in their journey that the movie wanted to take, the ones I grew up loving as a child. And when it comes to heroes, or more specifically Disney heroes in my case, the one that really stands out to me is of course Hercules from, of course, Hercules, because this movie really was meant to showcase his journey to become a hero, being expressed many times by the characters in the film and in the prophecy where Hades is defeated by him. And because he came from the Disney Renaissance, he served as the modern template to how Disney heroes were shaped to be, being the best representation of the hero's journey as we will find out. And today I really wanted to explore that aspect to showcase why Hercules is the perfect hero, because no other Disney character has worked as well as he had in that very journey. And it's something of a specialty from directors Musker and Clements, who have made very great stories about their heroes, from Ariel to Aladdin, Jim Hawkins, even Tiana, and especially Moana. Moana being the culmination of what they learned previously from those, especially from what they did with Hercules. And throughout this video, I will reference the hero's journey to see how it plays into his very character a lot more than any other, where we have to start with Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, the understanding of comparative mythology, where of course Hercules itself is based upon the very Greek mythology, albeit very loosely. This is where the well-known passage comes into view. A hero ventures forth into the world of the common daily into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons upon his fellow man. And when you realize that, you realize how that passage plays greatly into Hercules' own journey in the film, how he goes forth searching for something to go the distance, fighting these supernatural beasts that Hades throws at him so he can commit to his plans, but where at the very end he triumphs every time, where we see his power the public has in adoring him as that hero. And he does do that several times in the film, like the illustration shows the cycle until he actually learns what it means to be a hero at the end of the film. The best portrayal I've ever seen of this cycle in a movie. And this all begins before the cycle even happens at Hercules' birth, the son of Zeus and Hera in the film, showing a bright young boy with tremendous strength and a comedian for an uncle in Hades being the villain. It's where we learn his motivations to control Olympus, contributing somewhat to Hercules' own journey as a hero by the prophecy he was foretold, one that is very vague that thinks he means to remove the boy as a god from them so he can plan when he is an adult. And it sort of works in this case, but the only thing they really did was how Pain and Panic actually failed and just made him mortal instead, being raised by human parents. Where we see as time goes on, we see him struggle as a teenager with such tremendous power, getting berated by the public, conflicted about doing the right thing where all he does is cause chaos around him. And these scenes is what leads us to the call of adventure being the first step in his hero's journey, because Hercules feels like he doesn't belong around the people and his parents, thus beginning the song To Go the Distance, one of the most powerful Disney songs ever to realize what he wants in his life. Everything about this really plays into the first step very well. The hero begins in a situation of normality from which some information is received that acts as a call to head off into the unknown, where his parents show him something they found to encourage him to lead off to find the answer. The adventure may begin as a mere blunder, or still again, one may be only casually strolling when some passing phenomenon catches the wandering eye and lures one away from the frequented paths of man. This brings us to the Temple of Zeus, revealing that he is his son and tasks him to restore his godhood by becoming a hero. This is where you normally find the refusal to call at first coming from a place of fear with this new task, where instead in this instance Hercules accepts this because he knows what he was meant to be for something greater, the mark of a true hero who believes he could go the distance no matter what. He doesn't fall into the I want songs of many Disney characters, but instead presented as a I will in this situation, that he is determined to go through this very journey to prove himself as a true hero and help people out for the better instead of being lambasted for trying to help in the face of people who rejected him. And with Pegasus's help, they journey to find Phil, who has trained many heroes in the past, and Phil represents that supernatural aid a part of his journey. Once the hero has committed to the quest, consciously or unconsciously, their guide and magical helper appears or becomes known. More often than not, this supernatural mentor will present the hero with one or more talisman or artifacts that will aid them later in the quest. And that is the role that Phil is meant to play, where he first rejects Hercules because of the many failures of his past, but then is persuaded by Zeus himself and learning of his own strength. He is the important mentor who trains him to be ready for his first task to becoming a true hero, one last hope for him and the supernatural aid that he needed to get super strong. It's unique since most definitions rely on the natural world around them to give him such aid, where using Phil in this situation to train him is much better for the unique style that the film presented, and leading us to the crossing of the first threshold. This is where Hercules faces Nessus and meets Megara, where it is the point where the hero actually crosses into the field of adventure, leaving the known limits of the world and venturing into an unknown and dangerous realm where the rules and limits are unknown. And in this new world, he manages to defeat his first real enemy, which solidified his path to becoming a hero, aligning with the prophecy that Hades is indirectly causing, figuring out that Hercules is alive due to the failure of his own minions. The threshold is making Hercules enter this new world where the people of Thebes meet him for the first time and are very skeptic about him being a hero until Meg comes back with Hades' plan to lure him to help him out, where he enters the belly of the whale, or in this case, releases the Hydra. The belly of the whale step represents the final separation from the hero's known world and the self. By entering this stage, the person shows a willingness to undergo a metamorphosis. When first entering the stage, the hero may encounter a minor danger or setback, and that's exactly what happens in this case when he faces the Hydra struggling throughout the entire scene, where Campbell says that is symbolized in the worldwide womb image of the belly of the whale. The hero, instead of conquering or consolidating the power of the threshold, is swallowed into the unknown and would appear to have died, like how he's defeated the Hydra and appears to be crushed as a result of it, before revealing that he did survive while the Hydra did not. It's more described that this test is a symbol of death and rebirth of the hero because he's now entered a new world where people actually see him for who he actually is. This leads us to the initiation and the road of trials, where usually it's a series of tests that the hero fails at and then overcomes, to the next, where this is actually shown to be zero to hero, of him being succeeding at every test that Hades throws at him, finally becoming adored by the public throughout every challenge through merchandise and whatnot you would expect a celebrity to get, which is what he becomes. It also shows us, despite this success, it still isn't the path to actually become a true hero as revealed by Zeus. Yes, he has attained the popularity and defeated many foes, but he still hasn't completed the hero's journey quite yet in his eyes. The step I related to this moment skips over a few that I'll come back, but definitely relates to the atonement with the father step, which is what this moment really is. The hero must confront and be initiated by whatever holds ultimate power in their life. The problem of the hero going to meet their father is to open up his soul beyond such terror to such a degree where he will be ripe to understand how sickening and insane the tragedies of the vast and ruthless cosmos are, completely validated in the majesty of the being. The hero transcends life with its peculiar blind spot for a moment and rises to a glimpse of the source. They behold in the face of the father, understand, and the two are atoned. And what it actually really means in this situation is just that Hercules is coming to understand what his father is meaning by becoming a true hero, so he can discover for himself beyond that of the glory and superficialness that the public has provided instead. He might have slain many foes, but he still hasn't seen what a real hero does in acting selfless for others in need, which he just can't understand at this point what he goes on with physically. This also leads us back to the other step, being the woman as the temptress, represented by, of course, Meg. In this step, the hero faces those temptations, often of physical or pleasurable nature, that may lead them to abandon or stray from their quest, which of course does not necessarily have to be represented by a woman. A woman is a metaphor for the physical or material temptations of life, since the hero knight was often tempted by lust from his spiritual journey. Or of course, it is in the physical sense and the woman's sense, and what we know of Meg being enslaved to work for Hades and supposedly acting as that very role, leading him off track since we know he likes this woman, and that's actually something that plays into his arc of discovering what a true hero is, through the power of love, of course. And it's actually for both of them, considering we see her doing the same, falling for him, knowing that Hercules really has no faults and is a kind human being. He's just so compassionate, looking for the good in other people, while she has had her back turned by others in the past. It's a heartwarming moment where the real temptress part of this, other than Meg, is just the fact of Hades using her for his advantage to get what he wants, since he knows that they love each other, using that to his advantage to make Hercules give up his power to commit to his own plans. It leads him to a depressed state where without his powers and Hades almost succeeding, it almost leads to him being killed by the Cyclops until Phil comes back to encourage him to go the distance. This moment is for his character to go through the fact that is apotheosis, the point of realization in which a greater understanding is achieved. Armed with this new knowledge and perception, the hero is resolved and ready for the more difficult part in the adventure. He defeats the Cyclops in this moment, but at the cost of Meg saving his life, which encourages him to go forth and stop the Titans and Hades, which of course fulfills the prophecy and stops Hades from achieving his goals, leading him to the underworld to rescue Meg as his last bargain. And this is where he finally becomes a true hero for his sacrifice to save Meg, where it seems like he joined the dead and fail as a result, becoming a god and really fulfilling the apotheosis, the glorification of the subject to divine levels, and calmly the treatment of a human being and any other living thing or abstract idea in the likeness of a deity, where in this case it is more literal because Hercules is a god. He was born like that and he has now returned to that. that. And finally, this leads us to the ultimate boon as the final step in this journey, defeating the villain and saving the girl as a sacrifice to learn what a true hero is, where he knows where he belongs with the people. The perfect conclusion to his arc, learning the value of what it meant all along to go through his own experience that trumps being a part of Olympus in the gift of immortality. Of course, he's achieved what he sought and with his parents in the moment, but he actually cares more about what he gained and what he saved, where now he's completed the step with the freedom to live, returning to those on Earth where a star is born, and he is immortalized as a hero in the public, Bill's boy who would reign supreme as Disney's best. All in all, the journey that Hercules took is one of the most perfect one that represented a true hero and his journey, and one that would live on in many other Disney stories because of those various landmarks. And learning through the hero's journey is really such a compelling way to really justify his arc as a character. I may have gotten some things wrong in my description and actually researching this, but I actually found it fun to showcase this and what it actually meant, and how Hercules by itself is a great story because of those facts. It's one that is just so brilliant in its execution and will remain that way for all time in Disney history, one that balances out comedy with its emotional connection. And if it weren't for Hercules, then I don't think I would have ever valued Disney heroes as I do now, and will continue to do so in the passage of time. So with that said, I'm all done, so goodbye.